Hi, this is Ram Vamshi. Today we are going to learn unit testing in Java. So, what is unit testing? Unit testing means checking one small piece of your program at a time, for example, a single function or a class, to make sure it behaves correctly. Think of it like a testing each break before you build the entire structure. By doing this small test early and often, usually with automated tools, you can catch problems quickly and be confident that each tiny part of your program works as it should be. And coming to the purpose and uses of it, unit testing, it has many features like detecting and fixing bugs, facilitating code, ensuring code readability, providing documentation, and improving the overall software quality. So, coming to detecting and fixing bugs, think of it like catching a small leaks in a big program and facilitating code refactoring with confidence. When you need to change or clean up code, unit test help ensure you don't break anything else. So you can speed up the process without worrying. And coming to ensure code reliability and maintainability, by testing each part, you make sure that code won't randomly fail, making it easier to keep working on it over time. And finally, like documentation for good code behavior. Your test acts as an example of how your code should be used, so others can read and understand what's supposed to be happen. And from all these, it improve overall software quality. Better testing means like fewer mistakes and a smoother experience for everyone using the software. And coming to the next slide, like features of unit testing, we have isolated, repeatable, fast, automated, integrated with CI and CD. So isolated test one small piece of code on its own, so you can pinpoint exactly like where problem is going to occur. And repeatable, it, it is a results every time, making it easy to trust and rely on. And fast, it runs quickly, so you can check code changes often without waiting ages. And coming to automated, runs on its own without you doing the same steps over and over again. And finally, integrated with CI and CD, it fixes the smoothly into your development pipeline, helping maintain top quality code all the time. And coming to the types of unit testing cases in JUnit, like basic functioning test, mock testing, exception handling, parameterized testing. So now I'll show you like how to install the Visual Studio in your Windows system. After this, we're gonna install like a Visual Studio and JDK. For that, we need to go to the browser and type Visual Studio for Java download, and we need to go to download Visual Studio Code, Mac and Windows. And here you can select Windows and you can download the Visual Studio. And then after we need to install like a Java JDK also. For that we can type like JDK download for Windows. And here it's better to go to Oracle Java downloads. And if your system is Windows, you can click on Windows and click the installer. As I have already installed all the requirements on my PC. So now we're gonna create a folder and type the code. For that, before that, we need to install some extensions. We need to go to extensions and type Java over here, and we can see extension pack for Java. We need to install this extension to run the different type of Java projects, as I have already installed this Java on my system. So it shows me like uninstall and disable. And from here, I'll create when you click on the Explorer, you can see like a no folder open, and here we need to create a new Java project. For this, I'm selecting no build tools. We need to make a separate location for this, like folder. I'll name this like test34. It's a folder. Selecting this folder for my project location. We need to create a name like test34. So here, from here, we don't need the app.java. So I'm gonna delete this. And here I'm going to create like a new Java file, which is class. It is named as here. I'm going to create public class. I'm going to add some like addition and subtraction for this class. Int some int a plus b. And now I'm also creating for the minus like subtraction int minus int a comma int b. I'm gonna return this. So in order to do this, we need to save this. So after doing this test34m.java, we need to make sure that in our system we have Java or not. In order to do that, we need to go to command prompt over here and type Java version. By typing this, when you press enter, you will see that OpenJDK version. This is the version which I have in my system. And now I have Java, so I can run the programs. So I need to enable Java test like JUnit. And now you can see that in the libraries we have JUnit over here. So I'm creating another Java file like a class which is named as like a test demo 34. So here when you write like a test, press enter, it imports like a the JUnit test, and from here I can write like a public and we need to make sure that the folder is test 34m where m equal to new test 34m. So now we need to write like a assert equals long expect long actual, and over here in brackets 10 comma m dot sum in a comma b. So over here like a 5 to the a and 5 to the b, and here the test name should be capital T. Okay, so we're gonna test here comma, yeah, now we're gonna test these. We can see that everything.
Hi everyone, this is Swati. Today let's see how we can validate the functionality of MathUtils class using JUnit in Visual Studio Code. As my friend already discussed how to install Visual Studio Code and extensions required for this example. Now let's directly see the example. In this example, let's test the functionality of MathUtils class using JUnit. Here, in this example, MathUtils class includes two types of methods. The first one is sum of arrays, and the second method is finding max from a given array, which we will test thoroughly using JUnit. Let's explore and verify how these methods will work and the correctness through unit tests. Firstly, to import the file, go to Files and Open Folder. Here, for this project, I will create a new folder and mm, name it as Demo2. Go to Files and create a new file. Here, I will use new Java project. I will not use any of these frameworks, so I'll choose no build tools and demo 2, select the project location. Now here enter the project name as demo 2 as well. Click on src, you'll see app.java package. Now I'll delete this package. Right click on src, and hit on new Java package. Enter msu.edu.demo2. Now in this package, right click and create new Java file. Hit on class. As I discussed earlier, in this example, I will discuss about MathUtils class, and which includes two types of methods, that are sum of arrays and max of given array. Now I will enter the class name as MathUtils and hit enter. Now install the package msu.edu.demo2. Here, MathUtils class provides two types of mathematical operations. The first one is sum of elements in an array, and the second one is max numbers in an array. MathUtils class is a part of package msu.edu.demo2. Now, let's write the code and see how it will work. Right, public static in some array. numbers. Here int sum is equals to 0. For int I is equals to 0, I is less than numbers dot length I plus plus sum is equals to sum plus numbers I, finally it will return sum. Here in this code, to find the sum of arrays, first it will take first it will take an array of numbers and returns the sum of all elements. It starts with sum is equals to 0, then loops through the array, adding each element to sum. Finally, it will return the total sum here. Now let's write the code for finding the max. Static int find max int numbers int max is equals to numbers 0. Here assume that first element is the max. First assume that the first element is the max, and for int I is equals to 0, I is less than number dot length I plus plus. If max is less than numbers, and max is equals to numbers I, which will return the max. Here in the code to find max numbers from the given array, let's see. This method takes an array of numbers and returns the largest number. It assumes the first number as max initially, and it loops through the array, checking if there is a large number than the initial max. If there is a large number found, it will update the max. Finally, it will return the highest number. Now, uh, now our code is done. So let's create test file for this code. To do that, go to testing and enable Java test. As I said earlier, here we will use JUnit version. And now go to Explorer and right click on SRC Right click on src and create a new Java file class. As it is a file, name it as test test math utils and hit enter. This is our test file, and now let's write all the possible ways for the code and see. Let's write the test code. Input static org.junit dot assert dot assert equals import demo2 dot math utils import org.junit dot test public class. Here the here it imports the assert equals method from JUnit to it is used to compare the expected and actual values, and public class test math utils is the class for math utils. It contains test methods which is used to verify that math utils function are correctly giving the values here. Now let's create the test. Now let's create the test cases. Test test public void test sum of array. Here test sum array method tests the correctness of math utils. Now int int numbers is equals to it have 1, 5 assert equals to 50, comma math dot sum of array numbers. The next test case is empty array equals to assert equals 0, comma math utils dot sum array empty array. The third test case is single element single element is equals to uh, element is equals to 10. Now assert equals should be assert equals should be 10, comma my details of single element. Here, these three test cases refers that first one is numbers. Let's say given array is 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. The expected sum of these array should be 15. Here this assert equals to verifies checks that the sum array numbers will return 15. The second test case, empty array, expected sum should be 0. This sum array empty array will should return the value 0. Here the third test case is single element. The given array is 10. The single element, it should return the sum as 10 as well. Here some array single element will check that this results in 10. Now let's see all the possible test cases with negatives. Here at rate test public void test find max. Now let's see the test cases for finding maximum number in the given integer. Let's say n numbers is equal. Here to find the max number from the given array, the first test case is numbers. uh, the given array is 1 comma 3 comma 7 comma 2 comma 5. In this it should return the value 7. So the math utils find max will verify that it returns 7 or not. And coming to the second test case, all negatives, the given array contains all negative array numbers. Here the max should be -1. So the math utils find max will verify if it returns -1. And the third test case, single element. So here the find max should return 10. Now this is the our test case file. Let's run the code and see. Go to testing. I already run the code. See the output. So there are no errors found in this code. In conclusion, we created a math utils class and used two operators here. Those are finding the sum of numbers, and the second one is finding the max. We built math utils class and we used these two methods, and here we tested them using JUnit in Visual Studio Code. Thank you.
Hello, this is Sai. In this session, I want to share some of the examples of types of unit testing cases in Junit. So some of the unit examples are mock testing, exception handling, parameterized testing. So let's do hands-on experience on these examples. In this session, I want to use IDE called Visual Studio. So I'm creating a basic Maven project to test unit testing cases. So to create a Maven project, just click on Ctrl Shift P. We no need to have any architecture, for just click on basic Maven project directly. So I want to save this project in demo3 folder for now. Yeah, the Maven project is created. Click on open. Here you can see the structure of the Maven project. In main class, we will create classes, and in test folder, I will create test classes. So let's create any basic classes to test. First, I want to create an interface where it acts as a repository for database. So I want to name this interface as bank repository, and I want to add two methods, which so one is get balance, where it where the inputs are string account ID, and I want to add one more method called update balance, where the parameters are string account ID and double new balance. So we completed by making the interface bank repository. Just create another class called bank service. This class acts as a service between interface and backend database. Create a variable for bank repository, which is final. So I want to initialize this interface object by using constructor injection. It will take parameter bank repository. Initialize the local variable with parameter variable. So let's create one more method, which is called withdrawal method. So this method takes input parameters, string account ID, and one more parameter called the amount. So I'm creating a variable called balance. So where it will fetch balance from the repository. To do that, use the object of bank repository here and call the method get balance by passing parameter account ID. So I want to add two edge cases here. So one is if I give amount less than 0. So I want to throw an exception in this case. So to do that, throw an exception and so I want to use exception called illegal argument exception. And I want to pass a customized string which shows, and I want to add one more edge case. If amount is greater than balance, I want to throw one more exception called runtime expect runtime exception by passing a customized message to all is insufficient. So here we covered both edge cases. Now we can just withdraw the amount. To do that, just create a variable called new balance. So the new balance will be balance minus the amount which we pass through parameters. And I want to update this new balance to our database. In this case, our database is repository. So just call the object of bank repository and update balance with account ID. uh, New balance. So finally, I want to return the new balance as a return argument. So that's it. We just created bank service where it has one method called withdraw. So it will take parameters called account ID and amount. So first I fetched the balance from repository, and I have had two edge cases where the amount will be less than zero. It will throw an exception called amount must be positive. And the another edge case is if amount is greater than balance, it will throw an exception, runtime exception, saying insufficient funds. So if these both edge cases are passed, so then we can withdraw amount by subtracting the amount from the total balance from the bank repository. So this is the source code. So now I want to create a test where it covers both mock testing, exception handling, and parameterized testing as well. So before that, if we want to do any mock testing in the Maven, we need to add some dependencies. So here you can see I will provide these dependencies in the description file. So these are the dependencies we need to place in the POM XML file. So it will install all the jars required for mock testing. And I want to add mesh version as well in properties. And I just saved this, so it will rebuild the project. Now we can create a successfully a new class called testing class. So I want to create an variable for our bank repository to mock because we need to mock this repo. and a variable for bank service as well. So I want to create a method which runs before all the tests. So which we call it as a setup method. So this method will run before all the test cases when we run this project. So I want to annotate this method with annotation called before each. So I want to create an object for our bank repository. To do that, create. So I'm using a method called mock. So I'm adding comments. So it will create an object for our bank repository as a mock. So it is showing an error because we didn't import the static imports. So we can pass this mock object to our bank service. So now we just created another object called bank service for our bank service. We can use these objects for further tests. So now I want to create a test case. Annotate this method with list. So this method will act as a test case. Create a variable called account ID. So I want to mock a method in the bank repository. To do that, use this default object of repository. So when this method is called, I want to return of amount $100. So input this method as well. So let's compare the expected amount and the return amount from the withdraw method. To compare these amounts, we will use a method called asset equals. And this method should return this. And here I want to verify one more thing. And I want to verify whether this method is called when we call the withdrawal method from the bank service. To do that, here we can use a method called verify. So I want to add comments for this method as. So that's it for this test case. Now we need to create maybe 3 more test cases. So I want to add one more method called insufficient funds. So this will test our act as an exception handling testing. Create a method called account ID. So I want to mock the method called get balance from the bank repository. So I'm using when method. So when this method is called, I want to return amount of 30 rupees. I don't know why it is showing error. I just want to copy this variable with still it is showing error. I don't know why. You can simply use this statement again. So I'm using this method only, but still. Yeah, now it solves. So I want to a variable for exception, and I want to assert throws. I want to throw, yeah, compare the throws exceptions. To do that, there is a method called assert throws, and where it will take expected type and expected message. So our expected type is runtime exception. So I want to use a lambda expression. I want to call method called bank service. Method in the bank service, which is called withdraw, where it will take account ID and the amount I want to withdraw. So I want to withdraw $50, which is more than zero. So it will generate and make a scenario to throw an exception called runtime exception. So for now, compare the strings. So I want to make sure it is matching same. So I am just copying this one. So I don't want to make any mistakes here. So it will be exception.get message. Yeah, this class is done. Let's create one more method which is used for another exception handling, because we had two edge cases here. You can see here it will throw runtime exception, which we just completed testing for this part, and now we need to create one more method to test this edge case. Invalid arguments. So annotate this method as well with annotation test. So same as this, I want to create and let the value. So these functions will be reused again here. So actually we can copy all this part. So because we are taking same concept here, but here we are sending the amount which is less than m, 0. So again we can compare same exception. So both are same, only here we are sending amount less than 10, which will trigger the invalid argument class, and here you can see here. So this should be illegal argument exception. So we just completed one more test case which will be used to test this edge case as well. So now we will create one more test case which covers concept called parameterized testing. This method annotates this test with an annotation called parameterized test, because so this method will take four parameters. One is string, account ID, and one is initial balance, one is withdrawal amount, and one more parameter is expected balance. So these are the four parameters this method will use. We are going to use in this method. So same as before, just mark the get balance. But here I want to pass initial balance. So this parameter will be used here. So when we call this method, it will return the initial balance. So we need to call the real method in the bank service. So we have to store that the return value from the withdrawal method in the updated balance variable. We're calling the withdraw method, which will take account ID as a first parameter and withdrawal amount which we need to withdraw. So compare the expected balance and updated balance using set equals. Expected balance and the updated balance. So here you can see here this initial balance will be used when we are marking the get balance account, and on this parameter will be used when we want to withdraw amount from withdraw method, and this will be used as an expected balance. And here we are using the asset equals to compare the expected balance and the updated balance when we call the withdraw method. So we need to call these parameters by using CSV source, or you can also use Excel sheets as well. So here I want to use a annotation called CSV source. So in this, so it will act as an array of source. So it will pass parameters to this method recursively. So our first data set will be account ID and initial balance and withdrawal amount, expected balance. This is one set. I want to add two more sets. We can divide sets by using comma. You can also use different sets as you like, but here I am using some random numbers. More data set, account ID, initial balance, expected balance. So these are the data sets I want to. So this class is done. So it is ready for testing. To do test, we can click on this method, or there is one more option. So right click on example and run test. So it is showing there is no test response, or here we can click on simply on this method. Yeah, it start running the test cases. And you can see the test results here and here as well. So that's it. It's all about unit test case in JUnit. Thank you.
So before we wrap up, let's quickly go over what we covered in this video. We started by understanding what is unit testing and why unit testing is important. Then we went through installation of Visual Studio and JDK, which are essential for setting up our testing environment. We also explored four key types of unit test cases in JUnit. Basic functional testing. So it is checking if a method produces the expected output. Mock testing. So, what is mock testing? Simulating dependencies to test components in isolation. Exception handling testing, which is ensuring methods handle errors correctly. Parameterized testing. Running a test multiple times with different inputs. So, but there's more to JUnit testing. You can also explore other useful test cases such as ignore testing, timeout testing, and assumption testing. These can help you refine your testing approach by handling different conditions, performance constraints, and test execution control. I highly encourage you to try these additional test cases on your own. So, hands-on practice is the best way to improve your testing skills and gain confidence in writing effective unit test cases. So that's all, guys, for this video. Keep experimenting, keep learning. Thank you.